The council chamber had barely settled from the previous chaos when the next disaster kicked the doors open. Well, someone's sure in a lively mood. So you're the fool calling himself a demon lord? You certain you can afford to act so high and mighty if you've only got 3 people with ya? The large man immediately began shouting at me the moment he came inside. He gave a vulgar smile as he made no attempt to hide his disdain for me. This wasn't just rude, he was trying to start a fight, and there was no way to excuse it. My friends and I gave one another dumbfounded looks. Hang on, this was part of their plan. They had some kind of deep design behind this.
Understood. It is believed that this man has nothing of the sort.
Oh, really? So he's just a huge idiot? My name is Rimuru, and yes, I call myself a demon lord. Are you confusing me with someone else? Just in case, I thought I should ask. Whoops. Wrong guy wouldn't cut it when the dust settled, so I tried to figure out the man's true motives. Shuna's smile had disappeared, and Benimaru was so angry that he was now frozen in place. Soei was about ready to whip out the sword he had hidden on him, and weapons in the chamber were gonna be real hard to explain later. I was just as livid as them. In fact, I was so far gone I almost wanted to laugh. That was how I remained cool-headed enough to ask the question, but the results were pretty lacking. Yep, you're the one. He said that idiot's name was Rimuru. No mistake then, which meant I was safe doing him in, but look, can you quit it with that? I dunno what you want, but do you think you'll get away with that kind of lawlessness in front of all these witnesses? This wasn't something I could really say after bashing up that desk, but that was then. Let's use the law as a weapon to chase this freak away because otherwise I really might kill him. And if I didn't, I feared Benimaru or someone else would lose it. But the large man kept at it. Moron, this is my big chance. Once I knock you around and put this on you, all of you monsters will be under our command. What? Knock me around? Under his command? What's he talking about? Maybe I really was a moron because I didn't understand him at all.
Understood. This fool is saying that he will defeat you and make you follow his commands.
Yeah, I know. If you keep explaining things with a straight face like that, I really will look like an idiot. And what's that in the man's hand? It was none other than an Orb of Domination, the very artifact I saw in use back when Millen pretended to be hypnotized. It looked real, but would that work on me?
Understood. It is impossible to rule over my lord with the Orb of Domination.
That's a relief. I don't know where this lumbering man found it, I thought, but I'd better break it before it puts anyone in danger. I stood up from my seat. It must have woken the chairman from his stupor because he started shouting in a panic. Wait, Lord Rimuru. This is some kind of mistake. No one in the council is sponsoring this. Please confirm it with Lady Hinata if you wish. She's an impartial party. He was respectful toward me and I didn't think he was lying. Hinata didn't say anything about this. In fact, she warned me to stay on guard. I didn't think it'd be this in-your-face stupid, but for now I couldn't do much except sit back and see how things went. The chairman wasn't my enemy, neither was Hinata. And I had a lot of allies among the counselors as well. I know nothing about this. What is going on here? Who sent you here? Those soldiers' armor bears the emblem of the Anglicea royal family. Is Anglicea instigating this? I could hear them shouting above the confused representative. Clearly, they couldn't have been involved. This wasn't something the council hatched. It was the work of a smaller group gone clearly out of control. Amid the chaos, one person made a cool-headed decision. That was Hinata. When the chairman stated her name, she stood up and stepped between the large man and me.
Sir Reiner, what is the meaning of this?
Reiner, was it? If Hinata knew him, was he famous around here?
Do not come in here without permission. We are in the middle of a council session. Soldiers like you are not allowed.
Emboldened by Hinata's actions, the chairman began yelling at the group as well. But instead of Reiner, one of the counselors answered him. Count Gaban of Anglicea, I think his name was. Ha ha ha. Worry not, Chairman Lester. I called them in here to discipline that lawbreaker over there. Gaban was all smiles from his seat in the second tier close to the chairman. Sir Gaban, have you gone mad? The chairman's face went red as he shouted. I could see why. If a fellow counselor was involved, that kind of prevented the chairman from claiming the council wasn't in on this. and as long as we had an impartial observer in Hinata, this ridiculous farce could very well benefit me. I hated all this verbal abuse but decided to weather it for a bit. Sir Gaban, I was not informed of this. This was Representative Johann Rostia, a prince screaming now. He was among the more decent counselors not placed under spiritual interference. I remember the disgusted look on his face when things first went awry. Looks like he was siding with me here. I presumed he was on the pro-admission side. Everyone, please calm down. I know that we all fear the Demon Lord Rimuru. Am I wrong? And Sir Reiner here is the strongest man in all of Anglesia. He is here to defeat Rimuru, rule over him and make this member of the Octagram into his personal pawn. And with him comes Veldora. Even with the other counselors telling him off, Gaban remained unaffected, using his seat to formally declare hostilities against me. Several counselors shouted their agreement. If it was getting to this point, I no longer had any reason to hold back. But the situation was progressing so fast, I was getting left in the dust. Impossible. Unforgivable. How dare you disrespect the council? Indeed. Are you ignoring the will of the council and prioritizing your own motives instead? Even more counselors stood up and began airing their grievances. This was starting to look ominous. Some of the representatives didn't look well, hanging their heads. Given Gaban's dauntless behavior, he probably had another trick up his sleeve. And I was right. Order, please, gentlemen. What my knight Reiner says is true. And now the Demon Lord's been kind enough to come visit us. How could we afford not to use this opportunity? With these words, a delicate-looking man strode into the chamber. This blonde-haired figure wasn't a counselor, but certainly acted like their boss. I thought I detected a murmur of surprise among the council. I could guess he was pretty high up. But the next moment...
Prince Elrick, what is going on here? I thought I advised you to refrain from any foolish behavior.
That confirmed it for me. Apparently, this was the honest-to-goodness prince of this nation, and not even a council could be rude around a prince. No wonder there was so much consternation in the chamber. So was this Prince Elrick the mastermind behind all this? He had incited at least a few counselors by the looks of it. Hinata, I am disappointed in you. You've grown fearful of the Demon Lord and abandoned your post as guardian of humankind.
What?
Wow. He really pissed her off. Now, I wasn't sure I needed to act at all. Enough backtalk, Hinata, all right? You may be the leader of the Paladin forces or what have you, but there's no possible way you could best me, the head general of the Anglesia Royal Knight Corps. You can't even beat that wispy weakling of a Demon Lord. Instead, you lick each other's wounds. What a laugh. I bet you wet your pants running from him, didn't you? That vulgar smile was still on Reiner's face as he picked a fight with Hinata. Oh man, even I could feel the blood draining from my face. You... Can't even reply, can you? I'm assuming I've hit the nail on the head? Well, Miss Crusader Captain, that's a ceremonial title I presume you obtained by exercising your womanly wiles on that dirty old cardinal? Yes, I'm sure it was a sorry fight indeed between you and that Demon Lord. And a Demon Lord with no interest in killing his adversary? Don't make me laugh. Oh, now I'm taking the heat again. I really wish he'd stop. But I'll hand it to you, Hinata. You are attractive. If you'll be my lady, I promise I'll take good care of you as a concubine, you know? Oh man, now he's dead. Hinata's expression didn't change. She was the cool, reserved beauty she always was. But the colder she looked on the outside, the more her insides raged like bubbling magma. Her patience amazes me, it really does. I would have lost it hours ago. Now, General Reiner, isn't that going a little too low? But I'm interested in the Demon Lord as well. I wouldn't want you to have him all to yourself, you know? What do you think? I felt an indescribable chill run down my spine. Was this Gaban guy coming on to me? The thought, and this man, sickened me, and after today's events, it'd take a lot to move me at all. Good thing he was far away from me, because otherwise I might have clocked him just now.
Prince Elrick, as the Prince of Anglesia, are you willing to allow this man, Sir Reiner, to say such things?
Elrick just smiled. He. Hinata, if you had cooperated with me, I would have given you much more honorable treatment. If you wish to blame anyone, blame yourself for angering Reiner. And yes, I forgot to mention this, but Reiner is more powerful than an A-ranked adventurer. And he's not alone. With that, Elrick snapped his fingers. The door immediately opened once more, revealing a man in black, another in a green robe, and a group of people in overcoats with a familiar emblem on them. Come to think of it, I knew the first guy too. It was Gaiye, the dude who got his head cut off by Delta the Dryad. And those overcoat guys were definitely Green Fury, the team our avatars waged a life-and-death battle against. So was the green robe guy part of the Sons of the Veldt? He was hooded and wearing a scarf over his face, making for a mysterious unknown figure. But he acted all upper class, so I figured he maybe ran the Veldt or something. Allow me to make some introductions. This is Sir Gaiye, an A-ranked adventurer and now Reiner's aide-de-camp. And this, Elrick placed a hand on Green Robe Guy's shoulder. The theatrics made it clear just how self-absorbed he was. Is the leader of the world-famous mercenary group, the Sons of the Veldt. I assembled as powerful of a team as I could, as I thought defeating a demon lord with anyone less worthy would be poor manners. Yes, you see, there are dozens of people like you running around here. Just because you have a little strength to your name, you know, doesn't give you the right to act like a king. He certainly had confidence, and if he wanted a fight, I was happy to give it to him.
Report. Doing so would have a 100% chance of damaging your reputation.
Right? Even to me, a demon lord starting a fight in front of such an influential audience seemed like a poor idea. And my policy was to fight a challenger only after they conquered my labyrinth. If I started bending that rule for no good reason, I'd have to duke it out with every idiot I passed by on the street. And what's more, someone in the chamber was angrier than me. People are strange that way. If someone else gets angry first, that actually has a calming effect on you.
Let me ask you, Prince Elrick. What you are doing is antagonizing not only me, but the entire Western Holy Church. Are you prepared to accept the consequences?
No need to worry. I will not cause any trouble for the Western Holy Church, nor for the Holy Empire of Lubelius. Just sit there and watch, and I will guarantee your safety. Seeing Hinata fight to keep her cool, I forgot all about how angry I was. But from the chairman on down, there were counselors attempting to defy Elrick's group. We weren't alone in the lion's den here. We hadn't been rejected by the council. These were just some idiots gone out of control. Maybe it wasn't worth getting worked up about.
That is not the issue. I have been asked by the council to attend this session as an impartial observer. My role is to ensure its proceedings remain fair, and I am thus in no position to let your recklessness go unanswered. If this was the council's will, that would be a different story. But please don't expect I will allow a single person to act out of line like this.
Given their relative positions, Hinata was trying to reason with Elrick first. I doubted it'd work much. The words just weren't reaching him. Lady Hinata is right. This nonsense will not be tolerated in the chamber. Prince Elrick, I heard nothing about this. And Sir Gaban, do you expect no repercussions from this? Lord Rimuru himself came out here for us. This treatment is going to spark an international incident. This is unforgivable. Is this how the kingdom of Anglesia oppresses its people? Rage, anger, ranting. More and more counselors were putting up a fight. Now I felt like I was in a theater, watching the events unfold from my seat. My starring role might have been taken from me, but I didn't care. Without fairness, can you call it a council at all? Now the chairman was shouting. I cheered him on in my mind. Keep it up. Shut your mouths, old men. You can simper all you want once I've taken control of the Demon Lord. Reiner, meanwhile, was already up on his imaginary victory podium. He had already riled Hinata past the point of no return, so I doubted I needed to do anything. I figured we'd just ignore him. Prince Elrick, our agreement only covered our bodyguard services for you alone. Any hazardous behavior you engage in would void our agreement? Whoa. So the Sons of the Veldt leader wasn't in on this, and here I had bunched them all together in my mind. Good thing I learned the facts in time. Yes, the Demon Lord Rimuru is the most dangerous figure I can personally think of. That labyrinth he created is crawling with all kinds of insane creatures. You'd have to be a madman to come up with it. Should I take that as a compliment? Maybe all that fighting was worth it after all. The elementalist leading Green Fury was almost too scared of me now. Nonsense, you cowards do nothing but get in my way. Ah, but Gaiye's in the same boat with Reiner, eh? They seemed pretty alike, overconfident and turning a deaf ear to all outside opinion. He was flashing hateful looks at me now, although I really didn't know where the grudge came from. Either way, the chamber was one step away from erupting into full-fledged combat. Elrick, taking charge in the midst of this stalemate, raised a hand. "Order! All of you listen. Prince Elrick is speaking," shouted Gaban, who had come down from the mezzanine to stand next to Elrick. The prince nodded his approval, took a long, careful look around, and suddenly spoke. "Counselors, now is the time to express your will to me. Will you join us, the heroes who will slay the demon lord? Or will you side with that nefarious lord and betray humankind? I, Prince Elrick von Anglesia, know in my heart that the representatives before me will make the correct choice." He gloated like a stage actor. "What?" I reflexively replied. "We're gonna vote on it now?" The prince nodded back at me like this was common sense. After that wacky entrance he made, he still wanted to try upholding his honor? Besides, if we held a vote right now, there's no way he'd win a majority of... Hey, why not? We must decide this democratically by vote. Of course, I'm sure we hardly need to. The council, you see, is firmly on my side. That piqued my interest. He was supremely confident, as if he already knew the results, which, if you thought about it, was ridiculous. Not even a prince could get away with this outrageous behavior in an international council like this. So why was he doing it?
Understood. He has likely bribed many of the counselors.
Ah, I knew it. But I didn't think he'd buy off representatives from foreign nations as well. It'd be an international scandal if it got out, so I discounted any possibility of that. Serve me right for making the wrong assumption. Now, let us decide. Fairly and honestly, we are about to defeat and take rule over the Demon Lord. All in agreement, stand up. As the prince's voice rang up to the rafters, several counselors rose to their feet with vile smirks. The collusion was obvious. Well, I suppose it's come to this. Even if today's turned out disappointing, I've got all the time in the world. If we've been rejected, then it's our duty to accept those results.
Report. There are no problems. This is within expectations.
It is? I was struck by the vision of Raphael letting a dark grin materialize on its visage. Come to think of it, Soei had done a lot of investigating, hadn't he? People's opinions of our nation, the financial states of all the countries, how the royalty and nobility approached them. He had even poured through the legislative proceedings of each member nation. Raphael had examined all of it in intricate detail, and inside my stomach it had quickly created a set of documents for me. I took them out. It was a set of ledgers. Ooh, secret ledgers. Were these really within your expectations, Raphael? I couldn't believe this guy had actually found dirt on all the paid-off counselors. If I revealed these detailed lists of bribes given and received, I could take down everyone involved in one fell swoop. And now that I had incontrovertible evidence, this really was nothing more than a farce. That's Raphael for you. No stone left unturned. It was honestly scary.
Report. My lord will be victorious without needing to reveal that evidence.
Before I could figure out what it meant, the vote was over. Several counselors stood up and started clapping. Seeing this, Elrick's voice boomed out again. "We have our results, and the council's majority agrees. The resolution has passed." Gaban and Reiner had similarly sinister smiles as Elrick gloated to the audience. They were ready to capture us at any moment, but not so fast. Fewer than a third of the council's members were actually on their feet. The majority were still sitting down. That fool Elrick was so sure of his plan that he declared victory without even looking at the seats. Now the counselors clapping for Elrick realized they were the minority. They nervously looked around, faces growing pale. The results were clear. The majority was against slaying the Demon Lord, in other words, me. Interestingly, I had more ledgers on me than the number of people standing up. They made up more than half the council, in fact. But I guess a lot of them had a sudden change of heart.
Understood. It is believed that after removing the spiritual interference earlier, they have regained their consciences.
I see. They regained their wits and realized how foolishly they were acting. Excellent. It meant the people seated right now had weighed the issue fairly and decided to side with me. The bribes were apparently good enough for some of them, but...
Understood. It is believed that the spiritual interference stimulates the desires of its targets. It appears to exact a powerful coercive force on them.
Huh. I kinda sympathize with them then. Between that and Masayuki's chosen one, mind-altering skills are a menace indeed. Masayuki had no control over it, but it looked like this skill user could target individual people. I didn't know who it was, but it was definitely someone to watch out for. That blonde dude, maybe? Well, at least the freed counselors saw the light in time. They all seemed friendly enough to me, so maybe I could keep quiet about the bribes. Really, though, if the fate of nations can ride on the choices of just a few counselors, I think there might be some issues with the whole council system. If organizations like the League of Nations or the United Nations can't keep themselves pure like that, it's only a matter of time before they go rotten. Corrupt representatives ruin the reputation of the nation they represent. If you're going to leave nations' destinies to individual personalities and dignities, then I wish they picked the counselors here a lot more carefully. But then, that's nothing for me to worry about. My concern right now was with the people who stood up. Anyone who kept their head down and engaged in injustice like this needed to pay for their crimes. Before that, I thought, we should open the eyes of the fools who still hadn't caught up with events. Hey, take a breath and look closer at the room. I kept myself composed as I spoke to Elrick. Huh, what are you? He hadn't noticed the vote yet. It's amazing how much you could embarrass yourself when you were this stupid. What are you, a clown? What?
No, pardon me, Prince Elrick. It was just so comical, you see.
Even Hinata, coldly viewing this farce, chose this moment to join with me. She may have seemed frigid, but right now she was bursting to fight. I didn't want to lose out to her, but Hinata's lips were simply moving too fast.
The majority of the chamber voted against your opinion. As the observer, I hereby declare that this vote was carried out in a fair, legal fashion. Of course, I'm sure the council will hold an inquiry later to determine whether you had any right to call for a vote in the first place.
Ha! I refuse to stand for this nonsense. Have you all forsaken me? I love it. His anticipated results failing to happen, Elrick was now carrying on like a child. Considering how much of a narcissist he was, seeing him break down like this was the height of comedy. Hinata was all smiles and so was I. I could just feel all the frustration from before dissolve away. Yes, Prince Elrick is right. Do you understand what this means, everyone? If you pull an act like this, we will rescind our nation's support to... Wait, what does that mean, Sir Gaban? Would you mind explaining it to us? The exhausted-looking chairman cut Gaban off right as he was shouting, spittle sticking to the edges of his lips. Something about that statement must have caught his attention. Our nation's support, perhaps?
Understood. It is excerpted in the previous documents.
I looked back at them. Ah, yes. Now I see the transactions in detail. Anti-flooding construction in the Kingdom of Rybak. Food support for the drought in Karnata. They've made many other promises of support to an assortment of nations. And this is how they were meant to pay you back, huh? But if you're going to cut off that support after they stop taking your orders, it's all but admitting to the malignant bribery you've been engaging in. Why? Why do you know about our internal affairs? Elrick was silenced. Gaban was unable to hide his shock. I remained calm and lorded over them with a light smile. That was all I needed to bluff my opponents. I didn't really know what was going on either, but if that's what Raphael said, I was sure there was no doubting it. Now Elrick's allies were beside themselves with panic. The chairman, sensing my gist, was staring at them like a man possessed. The council had just taken another turn. Now things were tilting our way for good. I saw one of the counselors try to sit down when no one was looking. None of that, thanks. Soei's sticky steel thread had already kept them standing in place. Ah, I knew it, said the sons of the Veldt leader in an indistinct, genderless voice. We're not in the business of guarding someone looking to prod the hornet's nest. I guess their business transaction with Elrick was over. Victory was ours. By now our objectives were as good as accomplished, but there were still some fools here who refused to accept defeat. Enough of this utter garbage, Prince Elrick, now is no time to give up. Once I defeat the Demon Lord, our problems are solved. Ah, Reiner? Yes, General Reiner. We still have you, the greatest weapon in our arsenal. What a sight for sore eyes. They didn't know when to quit, I guess. Now they were casting the entire council aside to fulfill their aims. I doubted it would work, but then I didn't know much about an idiot's thought processes. Are you trying to defeat me? Of course, you fool. Or have you gotten cold feet now? Crawl up here and lick my boots and I'll think about keeping this painless for you. Reiner's vulgar smile was back. He was flashing the Orb of Domination around, so I suppose he was still intent on stuffing that into me somehow. Gaiye, behind him, gave out some sort of order to his soldiers. They promptly moved to block the door. I suppose they wanted to keep everyone in here, to keep word of their blunders from getting out. The sons of the Veldt had already taken a step back, but there were still a few upper-level adventurers on Elrick's side, weapons out and pointed at us. Weapons in the chamber. Of all the foolish things? The chairman was screaming his head off, but the soldiers were keeping anyone from leaving the mezzanine. I stopped hearing him after a while, so I guess he got captured along with the other counselors. If it's come to this, I thought, but Hinata moved first.
As observer, I refuse to accept this reckless behavior. Also,
Hinata smiled at Reiner, reminding him of all the insults he lobbed at her. She wasn't armed since weapons weren't allowed in the chamber, but if she was, I'm sure she would have had her hand on the hilt of her sword by now. They're so dead.
Rimuru, I'll take care of this.
Oh, this is rich. I am the strongest man in Inglesia, and I say it's time to expose you. Some saint you are. You might have gotten carried away being touted as the guardian of humankind and all, but that ends today. It's time to give you a dose of reality. Never once reflecting on her actual skills, Reiner gave Hinata all the bombast he could muster. And you know what? He wasn't weak. And over A in rank even, he could probably wage a pretty even battle with a magic-born like Gelmud, but he wouldn't know, would he? In a land as peaceful as Inglesia, he was an outstanding talent and font of strength, but he hadn't put in hours on the battlefield fighting monsters. That's why he was so oblivious to the threat they posed. Gaiye was the same. Would you allow me to engage the Demon Lord then? Of course, but don't kill him, Gaiye. Make sure you control the force of that holy sword I gave you. No need to remind me. With this piece of equipment, I'll never face failure again. Gaiye wanted to go against me. Whatever fancy weapon he got put him in high spirits, but it wasn't anything that extraordinary, kind of towing the line between rare and unique. Plus, if he's relying on equipment and skills instead of actual talent, it's unlikely he had much of the latter to work with. Gaiye's another over-A fighter, but to me right now, he wasn't even a threat. Faced with a foe like this, the honest thought in my mind was, man, I really don't want to have to deal with this. But apparently I wouldn't need to.
All this time I've put up with your humiliation, but you have been far too rude to Sir Rimuru, the man I respect and admire.
Shuna stepped in front of me, her attitude suggesting she'd take no prisoners. Quietly, she walked up to Gaiye. Wow, she might be way angrier than me. Looking around, I spotted Benimaru, frozen in place and not moving an inch. He was caught flat-footed, and when our eyes met, he gave me an awkward look. Yeah, I get it. We were of the same mind, and one glance was all it took to confirm that. How long will you continue to put me down? Aren't you ashamed at all, Demon Lord Rimuru, hiding in the shadow of this poor little girl? Shuna was right in front of Gaiye as he continued to scoff at me. What did he expect from me? If Shuna was ready to kick ass, I didn't want to steal her thunder. And if Benimaru was reluctantly giving her the stage, I had to follow suit.
Silence. There is no need for Sir Rimuru or my brother to bother themselves with you. I am more than enough.
If you say so. But you better not regret this, all right? Man or woman, I go easy on no one. With that, he took out his sword. It was a holy one. Pretty cool looking, I thought. But Shuna's smile only widened. Her parser skill must have already stripped Gaiye's abilities bare for her, and if it did, I had nothing to worry about. If something went awry, Soei was already poised to step in, so I decided to cheer her on instead. And so, as the leaders of the council and I looked on, the battle between our two groups began. I might have tried to make that sound epoch-making, but the fight was over in an instant. First off, Hinata against Reiner. This was like an elephant against an ant. There was Hinata, dressed to the nines in the formal wear she picked for the council. It didn't look too suited for physical work, but she still lunged at Reiner, not a single wasted motion in her approach. Huh? Reiner, meanwhile, couldn't keep up with her at all. I couldn't blame him. She wasn't going at 100% force right now, but she might very well be stronger than a demon lord or two. Reaching for his chest, she grabbed Reiner by the hand and shoulder and threw him straight off his feet. As for Gaiye, he lived up to his word, offering no quarter as he slashed at Shuna. But that didn't alarm her, so she removed her folding fan and made a single swipe. That was all it took for Gaiye's blade to snap off. Huh? His pained wail sounded less than heroic, but Shuna wasn't done yet.
What garbage. I'm not going to make this kill easy for you. You said something about the A rank if I recall. But would you mind fighting seriously for me, please? Don't tell me you're giving up just because your sword's broken.
She pointed the fan at Gaiye, egging him on. Damn. Damn you. A monster like you, acting like my lord and master. Indignant didn't begin to describe Gaiye's state just then, but Shuna was clearly toying with him. The talent difference was clear, and if he thought he could win, I had no idea what was going through his mind. Still, Shuna's a damn good martial artist, isn't she? Yes, she's been learning jujitsu from Hakuro. Shrine maidens are certainly versatile. Of course, Hakuro's jujitsu was the old style suited for real-life combat. A lot of its moves were designed to kill, putting the art well beyond the bounds of self-defense. If that's the kind of thing they taught ogre princesses, there was no denying that race's battle chops. Shuna's follow-up attack continued. Gaiye had taken out a backup sword, but she kept toying with him, knocking him down with a foot sweep. His heavy armor backfired on him as he frantically tried and failed to get up. Now she loomed over him, her fetching lips reciting a spell.
I dedicate my prayers to my God. I seek the power of the mighty spirits. Now, heed my request.
The prayer coursed through space and time to reach me. It didn't have to since I was right there, but that didn't matter. Huh? What? A multi-layered magic circle surrounded the flabbergasted Gaiye. Wait, this magic? Oh, he knew it? He really did break the A-rank barrier then. But understanding it and being capable of defying it were two different things. The spell was near completion and there was no escaping it. Could he withstand or block it? I doubted it. After all, this spell... Stop it.
Consume all, disintegration.
Is the most powerful of all holy magic. A torrent of light swallowed Gaiye whole, consuming everything inside, or so it appeared. Just as I was thinking, oh great, she killed him, I realized it wasn't the case after all. The swirl of light disappeared, revealing a half-naked Gaiye. His legs must have failed him, because he was sitting down on the floor and weeping like a schoolyard kid. Well hey, at least he's alive.
Oh dear, my skills are still so immature, I suppose my magic didn't work. I knew I shouldn't have tried a spell I'm still practicing.
She smiled the whole way through. I had to resist shouting, yeah, right at her. Using disintegration to strip only the armor off someone, after all, is an impossible feat unless you had perfect control over the spell. Really, though, it wasn't that long ago since I had Shuna and Adalman work together to learn holy magic, and she'd already learned the hardest spell? What a magic phenom she was. Her parser skill must have been offering her tons of support. Regardless, though, it meant she beat Gaiye without breaking a sweat. That left Hinata, but the results were already clear as day. You, General Reiner, stop playing around. Silence that impertinent woman at once. You must defeat the Demon Lord. We have no time for games. Gaban and Elrick, failing to grasp the situation, were shouting at Reiner in unison. Reiner couldn't move. Hinata's stare was just too withering for him. Only after that throw did he finally realize just how much stronger she was.
Not coming back for me? Then how about I head over to you?
The moment Hinata moved to take a step forward. With one of the most pathetic screams ever uttered in the world, Reiner buried his head in his hands and fell to his knees. A steaming liquid was leaking out from his crotch. Holy crap, who was wetting their pants now, huh? It was so exasperating that I didn't know what to say. Wah, General Reiner? What has happened? As strong as you are, Hinata the Saint should pose no challenge at all. Seeing someone refuse to accept reality like this is scary, isn't it? It made it so easy to issue the cruelest of orders to people. Reiner just kneeled there, tears and spittle intermingling all over his face. So much for that. It was a mismatch from the start, but I assumed this was the end of it. With that settled, I looked around at the people standing by their ground floor seats. The most prominent one was Elrick in the front row and acting strangely. The sons of the Veldt were huddled next to him, but I doubted they wanted a fight. They were keeping a natural distance, appealing to me with their body language that they wanted nothing to do with this. All right, Elrick. Sorry, Prince Elrick? You picked a fight with me, so what are you gonna do now? Keep going? No. And you guys who stood up. I'm assuming your home nations fully sanction your behavior today, right? So can I presume them guilty of the same crimes? No, Sir Rimuru, please, one moment. I mean, Lord Rimuru. Please allow me to speak for a moment. I was greeting them with a smile. They were keeping their pallid faces down. A few of them were trying their hardest to plead their case, but I ignored them. Soei had forced them to remain on their feet, so all these counselors who incurred my hostility could do right now was plead for mercy. Whether I engaged with them or not, they were powerless. This way, I knew I had the upper hand. From the side, it may have looked like a pretty little girl nonchalantly lording it over a bunch of grown-ups. A rare sight if you ever saw one. Comical, probably. No way a faceless crowd like this could ever oppress a demon lord. Their lack of common sense or a mind too weak to notice reality just lost them the day. And what a sloppy strategy. I can't believe they really thought they'd beat me and turn me into some kind of puppet demon lord. I suppose Hinata was right. They wanted to rile me into making the first move, but... So how to settle this? Well, hang on. Over half the counselors were subjected to spiritual interference, their desires stimulated. Without me intervening, they would have sided with Elrick, and his measure would have passed, putting me in a bad spot. No matter the internal circumstances, it was nigh impossible to reverse a completed vote. Things only worked out like this thanks to Raphael. But clearly, someone's out to get one over on me here.
Report. Murderous will detected. The target is the subject, Elrick.
Oh, crap! My magic sense skill was picking it up too. Over a mile away, someone was eyeing this chamber with malicious intent. But what would they do from this far? I promptly invoked Mind Accelerate and gauged the situation. Via magic sense, I saw a girl with red hair and kind of a wild look. In her hand was something small, black, and metallic, a handgun. Huh? A handgun from that range? And I didn't know how far one could shoot, but...
Understood. It is the Walther P99, a compact, lightweight, but highly capable pistol with an effective range of 55 yards.
I didn't need to know all that, thanks. Maybe it's a really good gun, but if it can't clear a football field, it's pointless. Our chamber is almost in the center of Anglesia, built inside a special security zone. Anti-magic defenses are built into its walls, sturdy enough that your run-of-the-mill attack couldn't even make a dent. Besides, any bullet fired would be subject to the physical laws of gravity and air resistance. Maybe it was enhanced with magic or skills, but if so, there was no reason not to use a full-on sniper rifle. Of course you needed to see a target to shoot it, and there shouldn't have been any way for the girl to see Elrick from her spot. Even if she had access to magic sense to pinpoint his location, there was a wall in our direct path, making a sniper strike impossible. After the recent assassination of Duke Miuzi, security had been beefed up around the chamber. I was on my guard as well, and I had already confirmed that this building was a poor choice for an assassination strike from far away. So her behavior shouldn't have meant anything to us. Shouldn't have. Or was she aiming for a ricochet that changed the path of... The moment I had the thought, the red-haired woman fired her handgun. In the midst of dilated time, I could see the bullet fire out from the barrel, flying at blazing speed, only to be swallowed into a black hole that appeared out of nowhere. Huh? As I goggled, the bullet disappeared.
Report. This is spatial connection, a type of spatial motion.
Spatial connection was just that, a skill that connected two recognized points in space together. If the distance involved was small and the portal tiny, it apparently didn't take that much effort to deploy. But I didn't have the time to listen to that explanation. The red-haired woman had used magic sense to pinpoint our positions, then aimed carefully and launched her skill so her bullet would reappear within close range of Elrick. Thanks to that, she was about to assassinate someone across a full mile of walls, homes, and who knows what else. A small black hole opened up in the air, about 1.5 feet from the side of Elrick's head. Coming out of it was a sure-kill bullet running at 1/4 mile a second. It was a point-blank shot, and there was nothing blocking it from drawing nearer and nearer to him. Slowly but surely, I watched it unfold. But I couldn't do anything. My voice wouldn't reach him in time, nor could I move quickly enough to try to stop it.
It is not a problem. Launch the ultimate skill, Beelzebuth, Lord of Gluttony.
Yes. Oh, that'll work? I thought as I invoked it. And then, whoa, neat. Ignoring all time and space, the bullet tumbled into my hand, all its energy gone.
Are you okay?
A disturbed-looking Hinata was already talking to Elrick as she approached him. The Veldt leader appeared just as shocked as he stole a glance at me. I said nothing as I checked up on Elrick. He didn't seem to understand what was going on and was just staring into space. Only a couple of us did know, really. But whatever happened must have triggered the building's magic security network, because alarms began going off chamber-wide. The session would have to adjourn for a while. Soei, capture the assassin.
I have a replication on its way.
As we waited for the counselors to calm down, I carried out the tasks demanded of me. Already there was an investigation happening nearby. You could kill a person with this? Yes, it's called a bullet. You need a special tool to fire it, but there's not one near us at the moment. So the assassin was targeting Prince Elrick? But what for? To frame the demon lord Rimuru, of course. Indeed. If Prince Elrick was killed at this point in time, suspicions would naturally turn to Lord Rimuru. It'd certainly complicate our efforts to admit Tempest into the council. Yes, that was probably the real motive. These fools were likely set up as disposable pawns the whole time. The security chief, sons of the Veldt leader, Chairman Lester and Hinata were discussing matters here. I was certainly glad to be cleared of doubt. Elrick was safe now, although he'd need to face up to the commotion he caused in the chamber later. Am I being targeted even now? He asked, his face haggard. He might have been a fool, but I didn't want him dead or anything. I think it's all right now, Elrick. Sorry, Prince Elrick. When the assassin missed you, that put an end to the ambitions of whoever wanted you dead. At this point, there's no reason for them to try again. By now, it was no longer possible to frame me for murder. Elrick was no longer of use to them, you could say, and therefore he had no need to fear for his life. But I'm the prince of a superpower nation. People could exploit me in so many ways. You think so? Maybe he was vulnerable as someone in line for the throne before he pulled all that nonsense today. But he wasn't officially crown prince and there were other people in the line of succession, so at this point, if Elrick had actually succeeded today, he would have been a hero, I suppose. But Anglecia wasn't easy enough on its royalty that an idiot prince doing dumb things would be allowed on the throne. Maybe the people would sympathize with his motives, but they'd never forgive him for screwing up. After today, Elrick's chances of being King Elrick someday were as good as gone. But hey, life's not all about becoming king, is it? You'll probably need to atone for today somehow. But after that, why don't you try reconsidering your future a little? I mean, I became a demon lord just by sort of drifting along, but I never really wanted to be one or anything. But there's no going back on it now, so I figure I may as well take advantage. Hee, a demon lord offering me comfort? I thought you'd be scarier, more vengeful. I'm not trying to comfort you, but generally I'm a pacifist. Elrick's shoulders slumped down as he resigned himself to his fate. I was a fool to be tricked like that, Gaban. It's time for you to take responsibility. Prince? You were the one who approached me. I fell for your cajoling and I must atone for that, but you had best prepare to do the same, Count Gaban. Elrick had now fully given himself up to the security team. It was pretty obvious that Gaban was the main person behind all this, rounding up Reiner and Elrick and convincing them to cause this wild scene. I'm sure someone's using Gaban too, that mystery organization perhaps. I can't write it off as a conspiracy theory. It's probably best to conduct a full investigation, but not even Soei's found any clues yet. If we can capture the sniper though, maybe that'll lead to something. Let's hold out hope for that, and meanwhile there's someone else I need to consult about. So Gaban, there's something I wanted to ask. I turned my eyes to Gaban in custody. What? What does the Demon Lord want from me? Even now, his attitude still had problems. I want you to tell me what you were scheming when you enticed Prince Elrick to join you. I'm not sure what you mean. I don't know anything. What? Are you abandoning me? And where's your evidence? Yes, I was asked by the prince to invite you here, but I certainly had no idea he would try something like that. You will not talk your way out of this, Sir Gaban. Both the other counselors and I in this chamber will speak against your case. Yuhan was having none of it, and neither were the assorted representatives nodding along with him, including a few being forced to keep standing. No problem finding witnesses then. But it's true. I didn't know. The prince designed all of this. All I did was follow his orders. Nonsense. You're the very one who procured the orb and brought the plan to me. I can't say I know what you're talking about. Again, you will need to find some proof. Gaban was sticking to his story. And as sly as I'm sure he was, he must have been convinced that no evidence was left. Would it be hard to pin anything on him then? It'd probably damage his reputation for a period of time, but at this rate I could see him returning to the scene after a while. That's the nobility for you. You can't take your eyes off them for a moment, and they'll never go down too easily. A more direct approach with weapons would be quickest, but that was a last resort. As I thought about this, the door suddenly opened. His Majesty the King Aegil is here! The attendant's shout was audible across the chamber, and those responding to it immediately stood at attention. I was about to join them before Shuna and Benimaru stopped me. Yeah, me kneeling or whatever would have presented an awkward picture. Apart from Hinata and me, however, everyone was focused entirely on the new royal visitor. Even the chairman was bowing his head. That's the kind of respect the king of a nation like Anglacia deserved. King Aegil glanced at the counselors Soei had restrained. He didn't linger on them long before turning to me, his bushy blonde hair going well with his curly mustache. I see my sons caused you some trouble. You could say that, but I think we've cleared up our misunderstandings. I had no intention of exaggerating things. If human society could accept us, better to let a little rudeness now and then slide. Very good. Then as his father, not as a king, I give you my apology and my appreciation. He lightly bowed his head at me, the king himself. I was willing to accept that. Consider it forgiven, but I don't want to see a repeat. Yes, that I am certainly aware of. I hope to build a good relationship with you. King Aegil looked straight at me, providing me with what I felt were his honest feelings. I figured I should trust him on that. If he reneged, I could consider my options at that time. It'll be good to work with you then. And with you. We shook hands. He was also kind enough to forgive the busted-up desk, so as far as I was concerned, our reconciliation was complete. All rise. Everyone raised their faces. They had all overheard our exchange, but I suppose this formality indicated that it wasn't meant to be on the record. A king wasn't supposed to bow to a foreign power that readily, and I supposed King Aegil saw it as a last resort. Father? Enough. You need some remedial education, I see. Yes, father. With a nod, King Aegil turned to Gaban. Count Gaban, Your Majesty. You were talking about evidence. Were you expecting a quick escape because you thought I wouldn't intervene? No, Your Majesty, not at all. I have called for magical inquisitors. I will let them decide your treatment. Gaiye? Now Gaban seemed concerned. He clung to the king. Please forgive me. I will tell you everything, so please, Your Majesty, have mercy. His desperation might have evoked sympathy among some people, but King Aegil's reaction was merciless. Take him away. The guards answered at once. One glance at his attendants, and his royal guard sprang into action. Now, Sir Reiner, Sir Gaiye, you'll come with us as well. The guard began to haul them off. Stop! Let me go! Who do you think I am? They tried to resist but were stopped in their tracks by a group of hooded men that appeared. Those magical inquisitors, I supposed. Reiner and Gaiye tried to resist as well, but the men had them subdued in short order, treating those admittedly powerful men like little children. I could tell these weren't your average prison guards, no? Inglesia really is a superpower, huh? And they got some pretty tough hombres working for them.
Report. It is likely a show of force to prove to my master that they have powerful fighters at their disposal.
One of those don't mess with us things. This must have been their way of demonstrating that Reiner wasn't the best Inglesia could produce, an attempt to preserve their dignity. It's hard being a king. I guess he had to stay on his toes to keep a demon lord like me from taking advantage of him. As if Aegil wouldn't have used my power to make Inglesia the world's dominant force if Elrick had actually succeeded. Well, if you wanted to keep a legion of sly, cunning nobility under your finger, I supposed you needed that type of malice in you. Excuse me then, and please allow us to handle this affair. With that, the king's entourage left. They confiscated the Orb of Domination too by the looks of it, but I didn't mind. I had already disabled it while no one was looking. It wouldn't do to see it used for evil purposes. It also wouldn't do for me to carry on about it any longer, so I let it go without comment. Following an afternoon break, we continued with the legislative session. The councilors seemed a lot less energetic than they were in the morning hours somehow. That was lucky for me because I didn't need to cajole them into passing all the day's important business. The following 3 resolutions were enacted today. Tempest was recognized as a nation. Tempest would officially join the council, and the council's military rights would be assigned to Tempest. These were accepted without protest and passed, barring any issues, by unanimous vote. It was a long road to get there, but everything I wrote up for the council was accepted in the end. I'm really not good at this level of brinkmanship with a room full of hungry sharks. People can scoff at my ideas all they want, but having to feel out my opponent's mind and objectives just tires me out. I think I'll let Raphael handle that for me from now on. Raphael simply answered, "Understood." Today it was brute strength that let me take control of my problems. But I didn't lash out first. It was Hinata and that charming young Shuna. In fact, I was the guy who saved Elrick's life. This amply demonstrated the broadness of my heart, I think, so I was pretty satisfied with myself. What's more, I had taught them all a valuable lesson. Attempting physical force against a demon lord was meaningless. The session behind us, we left the chamber. It was a stormy day, but now it was finally over.